Welcome to week 11 of my case study into progressive staking, just to see whether we can turn a profit from just random bets and using a progressive staking plan to make the difference. So just a quick reminder of the rules for anyone who's seeing this for the first time. The selections that I'm selecting do have a negative expectation. There are quite a number of bets going on. Test 7 had over 8,000 bets, and there needs to be a maximum loss limit of $1,000. Now I can lose more than that because the bet sizes can get larger, but once we lose at least $1,000, the test is reset. If we make $1,000, we also reset the test. So here's the testing that I've done so far. So the ones I'm going to concentrate on are test 7 and test 8. So test 7 ended profitably. Luckily, it got a bit dicey there towards the end, and again had some very large bets like test 6 did. That's taken our running total up to over $2,500 in profit, which is completely going against what I expected. Now that $2,500 could easily be wiped out with a really bad run, so nothing really that I can take from this case study yet, except that yes, it wins a few times, and eventually I do think it may start to slide, but we'll see how we go. Test 8 has started off and is in progress, and as always, when it starts early, it generally starts to decline at the beginning before it gets into some increased staking, and at that point is where it starts to climb and make a profit. So if we have a quick look at test 7, test 7 had over 8,000 bets. As you can see there, it's 8,410, and it did produce a profit of $1,113. The outstanding loss when I decided to move on to the next test, because this had hit over 1,000, was still $154.78. Now I could have left those sequences running until they end up in a profit. We'd likely end up with a little bit more profit overall for the test, but it's easier just to stop and start a new test. Now, the interesting part about this, like our previous test, was the max bet size did get out to over $2,000. So had that bet size lost, it would have been a negative return on that test. So it got out to $2,663. And when it was at that size, as you'll see in the chart that's about to come up, it won and quickly accelerated the profit up above the $1,000, especially when it's getting odds of around $1.30, $1.20, $1.30. When you win at those kind of bet sizes, you very quickly recover up and you're hitting above the $1,000. So let's have a look at the chart. So here is the graph for test 7. And you can see there for about the first 2,000 bets, there's not much movement at all. And that's because we're really just at level stakes at that point, and we would expect to be losing slightly, and it just seems to go up and down. But once we start to have a few losses, the progressive staking does kick in, and that progressive staking starts that upward trend. And it's able to get up to around the $600 mark without any too much issue. There's nothing too exciting there. There's a few bets there where it drops by $100 odd, $150, but it quickly recovers and moves on. So there's not much issue there until we start to get around bet, I think it's around bet 6,000, where you can see there's a loss there of $600, which is quite large and takes us from that 600 level all the way back to zero. And this is where progressive staking starts to get a bit scary, and is why it's a very hard thing to follow, and also why it can go pear-shaped very, very quickly. So at that point is when we kicked in our $2,600 bets, and luckily for us, they recovered very quickly and made a very large profit very quickly. So that pushed us all the way up to over $1,000. Now, there's a bit of a tail there after it shot up over 1,000, and they're the open bets that still needed to finish off before the test could actually close out. So we made a little bit more there, but those bets were just open at the same time as the bets which pushed us up over 1,000. But you can see that big loss from 600 to 0, that's where it starts to get fairly scary. And that's where progressive staking is very dangerous. And as we said, if we lost the next bet in that series and it had been 2,600, we would have gone to negative 2,600. So while we do have a loss limit of $1,000, it's once it gets past that point, so we would have been negative 2,600 plus whatever open bets had finished off, which makes it fairly hard to evaluate this probably over the 10 tests that I'm currently running, but we would have basically had our running total at that point go into the negative. So we can't make any thoughts or any conclusions based on what we're seeing at the moment on progressive staking. All we know that in a very short term that it's currently showing a profit. So we need to keep testing, and I'll keep testing this over a few more weeks and we'll see where we go. So we've got test 8 going. So hopefully this video's been interesting. It shows you the dangers of progressive staking, but it also shows you that, hey, it can work in the short term, and that can fool some people into thinking it does work long term, and maybe it does. That's why we do the case study. Let's see how we're going. I'll get out another video in the next week. I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you're having a bet this week, good luck. Thanks for watching.